Welcome to PRGE. Welcome to my presentation. Quick shout out to Sean for bringing me out here for PRGE, and to Russ Lyman, the cosplayer, the Jason cosplayer. Did you guys see him over there? 8-bit Jason in the house. He's literally got glasses over his mask right now, which is so, like, it's a testament to how old this game is, right? Like, Jason's just needs a little bit of help, just a little bit squinty. My name is Andrea Subissati. I am the editor of Rue Morgue magazine and one half of the Faculty of Horror podcast, and I am a Friday the 13th on NES fan. I was expecting you all to say, hi, Andrea, because I feel like to talk about this game and to convene with fellow fans of this game, it's almost like a support group, isn't it? We know there's something wrong with us. We know that we're fundamentally sick, but we seek out the camaraderie that surrounds this game, and there is a tremendous camaraderie surrounding this game, and this convention is celebrating that, which is why I'm so happy to be here. So just to get a sense of who I'm talking to here, who here has actually played this game? Okay. And who actually likes it? Okay. So I'm preaching to the choir here. That's good to know. So for those of you who are familiar with the game, you might not get anything terribly new out of this. I'm hoping, again, it's a support group. It's a walk down memory lane. I'm going to give an overview of the game, my own history with the game, an overview of the game itself, my own personal strategy for beating the game, which has happened more than once on the internet. Just saying. And then, yeah, a couple of tips, and then if you guys have anything to share in typical support group fashion, maybe we'll have time for that. All right. The worst / most difficult NES game of all time? ? How bad can it be if I'm among a room full of fellow fans? The game was developed by Atlas in 1989. It was published by LJN, who are an American toy manufacturer who got into the video game licensing world in the late 80s, and they also did the craptacular Jaws game, Nightmare on Elm Street, and another favorite of mine, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Do you guys remember that shit? With the phone number, and you could call Jessica Rabbit. Do you guys remember? Those were the days, right? Now, it's recognized by many as the worst / most difficult game of all time. And when I say that, I mean, like, upon its release, it was panned. 6th worst game ever made, according to Nintendo Power. They actually have a panel right after this, so we can all hold them accountable to this shit right here. The 8th worst console video game of all time. Ouch, Electronic Game League Monthly, who hurt you? And then finally from Games Radar, only IGN would ever think to surround Jason Voorhees with neon pastel vomit, thereby making him even more of an 80s relic than he already is. Excuse me? This game is hard. It's not easy, guys, but it's Nintendo hard. There is a reason why Nintendo hard is a figure of speech. If you're here, you're into classic games, and we don't love classic games because they're easy or even because they're fun. Heck no. We love them because they're bonkers, because they're nostalgic, because they remind us of a time where a super frustrating video game was like the worst thing in our lives. And if it sucked so much, Games Radar, then explain this, and this. And this, and this. This is actually a t-shirt made by a brand called London 1988. Didn't you buy me this shirt, Dustin? There you were. You bought me this shirt, right? And it took like months and months to come, and then you emailed customer service, and they were total dicks to you about it. Is that right? Yeah, I should work that into my presentation so everyone knows not to buy from them. Figure that out somehow. Anyway, my point is this is clear evidence of a cult following, even with this neon pastel vomit colorway. It is inexplicable. Believe me, I looked everywhere for some kind of explanation why he is in teal and purple. I don't know why. I don't care anymore. It's great. I love it. And so yeah, let's move on to my own background with the game. What a dork. Look at this dork. So I played this game as a kid, and I was delighted to see the Blockbuster demo thing out there, because I used to rent this game from Blockbuster. Remember when you could rent video game cartridges? And it was great, because as a young horror fan, I'd be perusing the horror aisles, and then you look over at video games, and holy shit, there's a horror movie in the video game aisle. I gotta check this out. I played it, I hated it, it drove me crazy, but I rented it again and again. Something kept me coming back for more again and again. And then years passed, I lost touch with my Nintendo, and then an old friend gave me this one, and you can see it's got a Varney sticker, a Vision Streetwear sticker. I think there was a girl's phone number written on there in pencil that has since worn away. Like, I would never personally deface my consoles like this, but I kind of treasure how this one is like a time capsule of the moment. And it works so well, dude. Like, this one, there's no bullshit with the blinking light. There's no every time you want to play something. It works like a dream. So I went to Fan Expo in Toronto, and I found this cartridge for about $10. And there was an after party, I partied my face off, came back to my apartment with my roommate, drunk as a skunk, busted down this game while we were chatting, smoking dope, fucking around, and I smashed through night one in one sitting, having never played this game in about 15 years. And my theory is that it just stayed with me, that even in the years that passed, it was percolating. And I thought about it, and I strategized, and I tested that strategy, and God help me, it works. And I started to become a little bit more public with my fandom about this game, both in Rue Morgue magazine and on the Faculty of Horror podcast. And then I received this piece of fan art from a listener of the podcast, who I've since lost touch with. So Demon of Des Moines, I think this is being recorded. If you're seeing this, I think it's my most treasured thing in the world. Thank you so much. What happened to you? And now we're all looking at my butt. Awkward. Fast forward 10 years to March 13th, 2020. The world is in lockdown because of COVID-19. And I'm starting to create live streaming content. I wasn't on Twitch just yet, so I would just get a tripod, and I would put my phone on it, and I'd talk to Instagram Live. So Friday the 13th fell on a March of that year, and I decided to play my 8-bit Nintendo console Friday the 13th. And again, I didn't have a capture card, I didn't have proper streaming capabilities. I literally put my phone on a tripod, pointed it at my TV, and played. And the entire time I played, I was like, guys, I got a strategy. I can probably survive the first night, but as soon as that's done, I'm done. And then I survived the second night. And I said, guys, I'm gonna die any second. And wouldn't you know, I beat the whole goddamn game. Go on. It's no joke. It's not easy, it's a miracle. And if any of you have done it, you know that it's not like, yeah, good for me. You were like, thank you, God, or Satan, or whoever's responsible for this. How did that happen? So I commemorated that with a tattoo on my leg. You and your friends are dead, game over. I think it turned out amazing. And then I wanted to show, I was approached by somebody in October 2022. They were doing a fundraiser called Monsters vs. Madness. It was a fundraiser for Planned Parenthood because Roe versus Wade had just been overturned. And what he did was he sent out Universal Monster figurines and told horror personalities to paint them any way they wanted. And I hummed and I hawed and I picked Frankenstein because, you know, his little outfit is easier to paint than Creature from the Black Lagoon's gills or the Wolfman's fur or anything like that. And I decided to give him an 8-bit Jason paint job. It was auctioned off. I don't remember what the final sum was, but it was well into the hundreds. But this is all to be evidence that I am the expert, just in case you were wondering why I'm up here talking about this. And again, there is a devoted cult following to this game. I need no further evidence than that. All right, let's talk about this game. In a nutshell, this game is divided into 3 nights of terror, and if you can survive all 3 nights somehow, some way, with a lot of strategy and a whole lot of dumb, stupid luck, you can win. And it's a race against the clock, basically. You play as one of 6 camp counselors defending Camp Crystal Lake against Jason's attacks. And he'll attack the counselors in cabins, but he'll also attack the campers who we have stashed in the cabins by the lake that you can see on the top there. If all the counselors or all the campers die, it's game over. Here are the enemies as per the instruction booklet. Do you remember instruction booklets? I specifically remember studying this instruction booklet with some, like, a hope of a hint of how do you play this goddamn game, and it's not in there. In fact, it's a very strange instruction booklet. These are the deadly enemies and hazards, and you can see the zombies, the bat, the wolves, Jason's mother, the crows, and then Jason, down in the bottom right corner, the Maven of Mayhem, the Sultan of Slash, the ghoul that everybody loves to hate. Guys, I've been working for Rumorg magazine for 10 years. I have never heard Jason Voorhees referred to as the Maven of Mayhem. What? Who wrote this? Anyway, it's a weird game. It's a weird instruction booklet. These are the guys. With the exception of Jason's mother and Jason, these enemies are just there to annoy you and get in your way. Part of my strategy is in avoiding them rather than fighting with them, because they're just going to slow you down. But of course, it's a Nintendo game. It's Nintendo hard. There are risks and hazards associated with jumping over enemies, because if you have a really good weapon and a really shitty one pops up and you jump on it, guess what? You just downgraded. That's one of the many ways this game says, you. But it's a survival horror game, right? And I think a lot of YouTubers and a lot of journalists have argued that this game was well ahead of its time in terms of the survival horror genre. A lot of the tropes, such as the scarcity of weapons and the permadeath aspects, will still endure in the survival horror subgenre. Where this game makes me rage most is in some of Jason's attacks are unblockable. Going back up here, these are the 3 spaces that Jason can attack you. In the bottom right, that's when he's attacking you in a cabin. And you can kind of dodge those attacks with like a little bit of punch out, leaning over motion. And you can hit him, and that's a fair fight, more or less. However, when you are on the track, when you are on the trail in the bottom right there and he attacks you, you are fucked. You just have to hope that you have enough health to survive the onslaught. You can jump, but you can't dodge. He'll corner you, he'll punish you, he'll run away. Dun, 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 dun. And then, of course, up on top, when you are in the lake, he will swim by. You don't see him coming, you can't defend, you can't hit him back, you just take the suck. All right, so here's the main map, and you can access this map at any time by hitting start, and you can also use this screen to switch between the counselors anytime you're in a small cabin. Everybody knows that, right? Because I don't think that was in the instruction booklet, and when I discovered that, it changed everything, and I was like, oh, for God's sakes. You can see the list of counselors across the bottom. We've got Chrissy, Debbie, George, Laura, Mark, and Paul, divided by gender, because gender binary was a thing back then. They all have different strengths and weaknesses with regard to their running speed, their jump height, their throwing speed, and their rowing speed. Did I already say rowing speed? Okay. Anyway, as such, the strongest strategies for playing this game is to know who is best at what and to play accordingly, and I'll talk a bit more about that later. Also, you'll see the health meter at the bottom right of the map there. That meter, when it goes down, it stays down unless you survive that night. As counselors get hurt, if they survive the night, they'll have their health replenished. If they die, they're dead for good. And then under that funny little pumpkin head happy face with the 15, those are the campers. And you have 15 to start. If that goes all the way down, it's game over. Quick overview of the weapons. As I mentioned before, the majority of weapons are found in the air randomly, which super sucks and can cause a lot of rage quitting and, in my case, biting of the controller and breaking it. For me personally, when it comes to my strategy, I actually only fuck with maybe 2 or 3 of these weapons. Going from left to right, we've got the rock, which you start with, the knife, the machete, the axe, the torch, and the pitchfork. The pitchfork is arguably the strongest weapon in the game in that it flies nice and fast, it flies straight. If you're on a path with a whole lot of zombies, it'll take them all out in a row, but the torch is my jam, and I'll tell you why a little later. Quick overview of the items. We can see in the inventory in the bottom right, the lighter to light the fireplaces, the key to enter the cabins in the cave and in the forest, the flashlight, which you don't really need, but you probably kind of want it so that you have an item in each of the inventory. I don't know why I'm like this. And then, of course, there's medicine, which is the way it works, guys. It's so dumb. So you gather this medicine, and when you're playing as the character that you're playing and your health goes all the way down to nothing, the medicine will kick in and it'll give you maybe a quarter of your health back, which is probably exactly the amount that Jason takes with one shot. And that sucks, especially since there's a bit of a delay while you're being healed. And if that happens in the middle of the fight, that delay can really fuck you. However, I find the best use of the medicine is when you are visiting other cabins. You can actually rescue other counselors. You can heal them using the cure command prompt thing right there. And no matter where their health is, you will beef it up by that amount. So, a little tiny tip right there. And then there's the sweater in the middle of the screen. Who here knows all about the sweater?
Oh, yeah.
Now, do you guys consider, like, just show of hands, do you consider the sweater like a key, critical, must-have item or a nice-to-have item?
Neither.
Neither? How can it be neither? It's a shitty-to-have item?
The manual says that it's supposed to protect you from Jason's attacks. It doesn't.
But it doesn't. According to what I'm seeing on the internet, empirical research is internet-based these days, it reduces the damage he does to you by half, and it limits the number of times he gets you on the trail. I find it helpful, guys, but the way to get it is perhaps more trouble than it's worth, and you know what I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about. This is the real maven of mayhem right here. Medusa of mayhem, Medusa of motherhood, whatever. Jason's mom, Pamela Voorhees, resides in the cave and is the only way you can get the sweater. Now, here's the thing with Jason's mom. It couldn't be straightforward and just helpful because it's a Nintendo hard game. On day one, your reward for defeating her depends on what you're fighting her with. If you fight her with rocks or a knife, you get a machete. Okay, but you can find a machete on the path pretty easily, so thanks for nothing. If you beat her with a machete, you find an axe. Okay, that's a pretty good weapon, all right. You beat her with the axe or the torch, you get another torch. That's just rude. Can you imagine beating her with a torch and getting a torch? That's a broken controller. On day 3, attacking her, you will get a pitchfork, which again is a pretty good weapon, but I find Jason's mom really hard to beat, frankly, guys. I find beating Jason in a cabin, I know his patterns, I know the way he swings, I know how to dodge. Jason's mom, I never really got the hang of her fight pattern, and so it's always a risk. I don't think I would risk attacking her unless it were day 2, because day 2 is where you get the sweater. If I had a counselor to burn, which will make more sense when we're talking about strategy and I'm showing off on Twitch, then maybe I'll go for her, but that's whether I win is anyone's guess. All right, more strategy. Oh yeah, I wanted to mention, remember how I said that you didn't actually need the flashlight? Most of you guys probably know this one, but if you don't have a flashlight, this is what the caves look like. If you do have a flashlight, you're gonna see these archways in the back where you can go up and actually find the cabin. But do you see how on that platform on the far right at the bottom there, there's like, the rocks are kind of like scalloped along the edge, but the second rock from the left, there's a little notch in it. Do you guys see what I'm talking about? That's where the corridor is. So even if you don't have a flashlight, you can go right there and hit up and you will go right to the cabin. You still need the key to get in, but you don't need the flashlight, bug it. All right, strategy. Now, when you start the game, this little menu pops up and it says use the torch to light the fireplaces. And I remember being a kid and being like, what for? I am being attacked by Jason constantly. Why would I spend any time lighting damned fireplaces? Furthermore, is the torch not a weapon in this game? Do you mean the lighter game? Do you mean use the lighter to light the fireplaces to get the torch? Because that would actually be a lot more helpful than this menu. And what I have discovered is that the easiest, most promising way to beat this game is to focus on arming your counselors, as many of them as possible, with the torches. Elongate day 1 as long as you can, because day 2 and 3 get a lot harder. But if you've got torches, you can just race through it, but spend as much time in day 1 as possible. I will elaborate. So my strategy involves, I mentioned before that the camp counselors each have different strengths and weaknesses. Mark and Chrissy are your boys. Mark and Chrissy, they run the fastest, they jump the highest, they are your MVPs, basically. Because my strategy involves lighting all the fireplaces and getting the torches as soon as possible, these guys will get that done as quickly as possible. However, Jason's going to interrupt by attacking counselors and campers. And so I keep a counselor, someone like Debbie. I tend to use Debbie as the babysitter. I've got her marked as the babysitter there. I'll park her in one of the small cabins by the lake. And if the kids are attacked, she'll go to the rescue simply because she is the fastest rower. So she'll get there the fastest. But honestly, she's pretty interchangeable with Paul or George as the keeper of the kids. They are just there to keep Jason off your back while Mark and Chrissy are running around getting the strongest weapon in the game. And my strategy for getting the torch is to start in that middle ring around the lake. So there are only fireplaces in the big cabins. You can see that there's big and little ones. Start inside there, then move out to the outside ring, up to the cave, go around the little cave thing, get the ones in there, and then head back to the lake. Because no matter what, when you've lit all the fireplaces, the torch is going to wind up in one of those big cabins by the lake, usually the uppermost one. So it just makes sense to start there, go around, and wind up back there for maximum efficiency. Now, doing research for this game, I watched a lot of videos, I watched a lot of speed runs, I read strategy, and all of them pretty much aligned with what I was doing. If you want to spend some time getting an axe or getting the pitchfork or messing with Jason's mom, that's all up to you. For efficiency's sake, get as many of your counselors with torches as fast as you can, run the clock in day 1, and come at him on day 2 or 3. And I found this on, I think, TikTok, like a 5-second video that just blew my mind. Someone was like, "Did you know that you can get a torch within 2 minutes?" And I was like, "What? Motherfucker, what?" And the instructions were something along the lines of, I didn't write them down, because it's a little bit blasphemous. I was talking about this with my Twitch community, and it's like, is this a cheat? Is this a hack? Is this a cheese? I have to admit that I don't really know how to differentiate those terms. It's kind of a cheat. It's a sequence of actions that get you the torch super fast, and they're kind of sketchy in that it's like, go into the cave, come out of the cave, go into the cabin, but back out, don't touch anything, and then read this note, and then do this and that, and you're gonna find a torch. So, it's bullshit. But at the same time, if it arms a weaker character who is not Mark or Chrissy with a torch, and then right after that, you get the torches the old-fashioned way, that's a pretty good cheat. And when it comes to games this hard, I'm not that scrupulous about it. So I have a little compilation here of some clips from my Twitch stream when I tried this strategy. Behold. I have discovered that you can find a torch within about 2 minutes by following these directions. So I want to try that first. Shook. See how badly this torch hurts him? Oh, it hurts, don't it, Jason? Oh, he's almost dead! Oh, so am I! Oh my god! Woo! Sweating. Sweating. Thank you. And that is the face of anyone who beat the strongest strategy you can possibly have. Like I said, there is luck, there are highs and lows, there's emotion, there's drama, there's tears. There's all of that, and that's why we love this game. And I think as a horror fan, to know that, Friday the 13th, has become such an enduring classic. It was, it did well at the box office, but critics were pretty rough about it. But, the fans always have the last laugh. The fans are what keep franchises like this alive. That's true of the movies, and that's true of this game. And, yeah, that's why it's so near and dear to my heart. So I feel like I actually kind of sped through my presentation, gang. Do we want to, in true support group style, no, I have discovered that you can find... Don't do that. Don't. There, yes, that's what I wanted. Does anyone want to share anything that I didn't cover? Any secrets? Oh, a hand went right up, I love it, yeah.
So when it comes to Jason Voorhees being cyan and purple,
yes!
the two things that I can think of are, one, those are the colors of CGA graphics, which were common in DOS computers, and so that might be a reason why. And then two, the NES shares palettes, and you can redefine them in runtime, but if you don't, like for example, Super Mario Brothers does that, and that's why coins and blocks change colors at the same time, and so does the Superstar. But if you don't redefine that, then you have a limited number of palettes with colors you can use. And so if they don't do that in runtime, Jason is probably just using some other palette that's shared by some other sprites in the game, which just happen to be the colors of CGA for some reason.
Okay.
Cyan, magenta, and yellow.
I understood some of that. That's so cool. That's the closest I've heard to an explanation. That's amazing. Thank you.
No worries.
Oh, Jason has something to say. Let's give him the floor.
I did hear that there is a poster for Friday the 13th in Japan where it depicts Jason in a purple outfit there. So when people were making this game, they maybe got source material from that, got inspired and made them purple.
Aha. Love it. That does make sense. And I wonder if it's it's a Japanese game. Also, where did you get your purple coveralls? Because
So they were white.
I knew it.
Purple.
Amazing.
Nice.
Good job, everyone. That's Russ Lyman. Get a picture with him in front of the amazing Friday the 13th backdrop out there. Another question. Yes, to your left.
To add to what he was asking, did you say what company developed this game?
Developer was Atlas and publisher was LJN, I believe?
Yep, Atlas is a Japanese company.
Yeah.
That explains that then.
Okay.
Because CYMK is also just a common painter's palette. Like if you're painting, use cyan, yellow, magenta. That's also why it was common in DOS graphics at the time. So it's probably just was a stylized version of Jason Voorhees that's made into the developers.
Okay. Like the printer cartridges.
Yeah.
This is how I understand things. In the orange.
How about that music? When you played your clip there, it started by getting anxious.
Oh my God. So the cabin music, guys, I think it's so iconic and so amazing. I totally read reviews that came out around when this game came out, and they criticized the repetitive music. I'm like, what? It's beautiful. It was my cell phone ringtone for years and years. I think the cabin has great music, and then the doo-doo, 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 doo-doo. Iconic. I love it. Yes, over there in the, yeah.
Since you beat Jason so early in the pandemic, what gaming challenges were left for later in the pandemic?
Oh my goodness, I love that. Well, I mean, every single time I play this game, it's a matter of life and death. I never feel like I've conquered this game, quite frankly. My most recent rage quit was Scorn, though. That's not a classic game, but I think you know. It's Nintendo hard somehow. It is infuriating. Great question, I love that. Yes?
Have you played any of the modern Friday the 13th game?
I did play some of the modern Friday the 13th game. I did, and you know, it's such a shame. I was wondering about whether to incorporate that into my presentations, because most of you are Friday the 13th fans. You know that they've been fighting over the copyright for decades, and the nature of that fight, I really don't know that it's going to be reconciled. It basically has to do with whether Jason's iconic hockey mask belongs to Sean Cunningham, who wrote the original story, because as you know, he doesn't don the hockey mask until later in the franchise. So it's a really terrible snake eating its own tail, which is kind of what scrapped DLCs and further development for the gun game. Yeah, it's really too bad because I'm sure a lot of super fans like me, like you, like us, would love to take another crack at this version of the game. And I think they even had, wasn't there a skin in the new Friday the 13th where 8-bit Jason came back? Yeah. I mean, he won't stay dead, but he's definitely in limbo for a while because of that. Yeah. Anything else? Yes.
You made the point that lighting the fireplace is what's important, but what does that actually do?
Oh my God, did I not say? Guys, you light the fireplaces. I am so sorry. Lighting all of the fireplaces in the big cabins gives you the torch. It just gives it to you. When you light the last fireplace, I remember I used to have a little piece of paper and I would draw the map and I would tick them off because I did not yet have a strategy to like remember which ones I got and which ones I didn't, because you're gonna get interrupted constantly, right? Once you get the last fireplace, you will be given the flashlight and a little note will say, hey, you did it, go to the lake. It won't say, hey, you did it. It'll say fire hurts Jason the most or something oblique like that. And then you go get it. And the torch, my God, the torch hurts him so bad. And it's so easy. Like, you don't have to beat Jason's mom to get it. You don't have to jump around in the forest and risk getting hurt or inadvertently downgrading. It's the way to do it. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for pointing that out. I love it when I fuck up and people point it out. Yes, one more from Russ.
Have you ever played, I don't know if you know, there's a ROM hack that's Freddy versus Jason. And you actually play as Freddy Krueger, and his hand is the pitchfork, essentially. He's throwing his Freddy book. So all your characters are Freddy, and you get to go around, so it's pretty easier to beat Jason that way.
Amazing. I did not know about that. I did play this game with a Game Genie once, where it's just like you're indestructible. No fun. What fun is that? I was actually kind of disappointed with the Game Genie commands, because you know, for like Mario Brothers 3, there'll be a couple of codes that actually make the game a little bit harder, or at least more interesting. It's like, yeah, defeat the whole game in a frog suit. Like, try that. That's a weird little twist on things. I would almost love a Game Genie, something where it's like, nobody can jump very high, or everybody starts with a key, or, I don't know, something like that. But I didn't know about that. I did play the Nightmare on Elm Street LGN game. It just doesn't tickle me like this one. It doesn't tickle my pickle.
You mentioned you watched some of the speed runs while researching strategies. There's a bunch of categories for the game, like there's a Pamela power percentage where you have to beat Pamela Voorhees in order for you to run. Were there any categories that you found particularly interesting to watch?
Oh, I think they're all fascinating. I think anyone who loves this game to me is just kin in a very special sadomasochistic way. One more right here.
Yeah, how do you progress to the next day?
Okay, well, just by beating Jason. And when you fight Jason, he does have a little health meter. When it goes all the way down, you'll get a message that says he's still not dead. And then on day 2, everything is harder. Zombies are faster, crows are faster, Jason's faster, his mom is faster, and hits hit you harder. Yeah, so you want to spend as little time in those worlds as humanly possible, is my tip. But anyway, guys, we'll wrap it up. The very next panel in this room is going to be Nintendo Power, so let's ask them what their problem was with this game. Thank you so much to PRGE for having me. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you. Once more, you can find me on Instagram and Twitch. My username is Necromandrea, and PRGE has given me a bunch of these pins to give away, and those of you walking out before I'm done talking are going to know that. Come get one if you like.
Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and to the right are a few more videos from the Portland Retro Gaming Expo 2023. Thanks for watching.